72, we flew missions just like this one. Never thought I'd see the day we'd be standing here, reminiscent.
Morning sun had just begun to rise over Fort Darlington, painting the edges of the sky in hues of orange and gold. Soldiers were already on the field, running drills, their boots pounding in rhythm on the hard ground. The air smelled of metal, oil, and discipline, the kind only a military base could breathe. General Marcus Reed, a man whose presence could silence a room, had arrived early that morning. His new appointment as commanding officer of Fort Darlington was a mark of prestige, but also of responsibility. The base had history, not just in battle but in scars that time hadn't healed. He walked through the main hangar, his eyes scanning every corner. Engineers stood at attention, pilots saluted, mechanics nodded respectfully. Everything seemed in order, yet something about the air felt heavy. At the far end of the hangar, an old man was quietly mopping the floor. His uniform wasn't military green but dull gray, faded from years of use. His hands were rough, veins bulging like ropes from decades of hard labor. His back was slightly bent, but his movements were steady, deliberate. General Reed slowed his pace. There was something unusual about the way the janitor moved. Calm, precise, almost tactical. The general approached him with a faint smile. "Morning, old-timer," the general said, his tone light. "How long have you been working here?" The janitor didn't look up right away. He wrung the mop, set it aside, and finally turned toward him. His eyes were cold, sharp, the kind of eyes that had seen too much. "Long enough to see generals come and go," the old man replied in a low, gravelly voice. Reed chuckled. "That's fair. What's your name?" "Name's Cole," the old man said. "Just Cole." "Just Cole, huh? Well, Cole, it's good to have experienced hands keeping this place running. You ever serve?" The question hung in the air like a spark near fuel. Cole looked at him for a moment, then back at the floor. "Once," he said quietly. "A long time ago." Reed tilted his head. "What unit?" Cole didn't answer right away. He seemed lost for a second, as if caught between two worlds, the one he lived in and the one he'd left behind. "Doesn't matter now," he finally said. "That life's over." But Reed's curiosity had been triggered. There was something in the man's voice, something deep, buried beneath decades of silence. He decided to press a little further. "Well, every soldier's life matters, Cole. I've met a lot of veterans, some heroes, some ghosts. You sound like one of the latter. So tell me, back in the day, what was your call sign?" For a brief moment, everything stopped. The sound of drills outside faded. The hum of engines in the hangar seemed to die down. Cole stood still, gripping the mop handle a little tighter. Then slowly he looked the general in the eye. "Viper 1, he said. Reed froze. His smile vanished. His jaw tightened as the color drained from his face. The room suddenly felt smaller, the air heavier. "Repeat that," Reed whispered. Cole's eyes didn't blink. "Viper 1, Reed took a step back. The name was like a gunshot from the past. He hadn't heard it in over 30 years. Not since Operation Silent Storm, one of the most classified missions in U.S. history. Every soldier who went into that mission was declared dead. Except for one, and even that was only a rumor. Reed's voice trembled slightly. "That's impossible. Viper 1 didn't make it out. None of them did." Cole's gaze didn't waver. "That's what the report said." The general's mind was racing. The name Viper 1 wasn't just a call sign. It was a legend whispered among Black Ops soldiers. A story told in hushed tones about a man who led his team into the enemy's heart, who stayed behind to cover their escape, who disappeared under fire so heavy it turned night into day. "Jesus Christ," Reed muttered. "You're him?" Cole turned back to his mop bucket. "I was," he said softly. "Now I just clean floors." Reed stood there, speechless. Memories flooded back, training tapes, mission reports, classified debriefings. He remembered being a young lieutenant back then, hearing how Viper 1 had sacrificed everything, and now that same man stood in front of him. With a mop, the general finally found his voice. You were the one who took down the eastern compound. You held the line for 6 hours alone." Cole didn't reply. He simply wrung the mop again, the squeak of metal echoing in the silence. Reed's voice grew softer. "Why didn't you tell anyone? You could have had medals, honors, everything." Cole gave a faint, almost bitter smile. "Medals don't mean much when all your men are gone, General. They don't hang on the wall, they hang on your soul." Reed felt his chest tighten. He had met heroes before, but none like this. The weight of those words hung heavy in the air. Outside, a group of soldiers walked by, laughing and joking. They didn't even glance at the old janitor. To them, he was just another maintenance worker. But to Reed, he was a ghost from the deepest shadows of war, a living reminder of what sacrifice truly meant. "Cole," Reed said quietly, "I want you to come to my office tomorrow. I'll make sure you're properly recognized. The world deserves to know who you are." Cole shook his head. "No, sir. The world's better off forgetting some things. Some ghosts shouldn't be dragged into the light." Reed frowned. "You deserve respect, damn it." "I had it once," Cole replied. "Didn't do much good then either." There was a long silence. The general looked at him, at the lines etched into his face, the steady, almost mechanical movements, the eyes that never quite looked at peace. Finally, Reed said softly, "You were my hero, Cole. When I joined the army, we all heard about Viper 1. You were the reason many of us even put on a uniform." Cole's hand trembled slightly. He took a deep breath, then said in a voice barely above a whisper, "Then learn from my mistakes, General. Don't become a story people tell in the dark." Reed didn't know what to say. He saluted the old man quietly, the gesture filled with genuine respect. Cole didn't return the salute. He simply nodded and went back to cleaning. As the general walked away, his mind was spinning. That night he went back to his quarters and pulled up old classified files. Operation Silent Storm, Team Viper. Leader, Captain Nathan Cole. Status, KIA, killed in action, except he wasn't. The file contained photographs, after-action reports, and one grainy image. A man standing amid burning wreckage, holding a rifle, smoke curling around him. Even in the blurry shot, Reed could see the same eyes. He couldn't sleep that night. He kept thinking, how had a man like that ended up mopping floors in a forgotten base? The next morning, Reed arrived at the hangar early. Cole wasn't there. His mop bucket and uniform were gone. The storage room was empty. He asked around, but no one had seen him leave. The guards at the gate hadn't logged any departures. It was as if the man had vanished. On the wall near the janitor's locker, Reed found a small envelope. His name was written on it, General Reed. Inside was a single folded note and a patch. The patch was old, worn but recognizable. A black snake curled into a 1. Viper 1, the note read. "Some wars never end, General. They just change uniforms. Keep your men safe. Cole." Reed held the patch in his hand for a long time. The weight of it felt heavier than any medal he'd ever received. He walked out to the runway and looked at the horizon. The wind carried the faint scent of oil and dust, the same as it had decades ago in that godforsaken desert. Somewhere out there, he thought, the legend of Viper 1 was still alive, and though the man had vanished again, his story would stay, a silent testament to those who fought not for glory, but for the brothers who never came home. As the sun climbed higher, a young soldier approached and asked, "Sir, who was that old janitor everyone's talking about?" Reed looked at him for a long moment, then simply said, "A name you'll never forget, son. Viper 1. The soldier frowned, trying to place the name. Reed turned away, his eyes distant. "Remember it," he said quietly, "because men like him built the world we stand on." That night, the general ordered the old hangar's wall to be cleaned and repainted. But he told the crew to leave one small mark untouched, a faint stencil, barely visible under the old paint, of a coiled snake and a single word beneath it, Viper. The crew didn't understand why, but Reed knew. Some marks weren't meant to be erased, and in the quiet corners of Fort Darlington, soldiers would sometimes swear that when the wind blew just right, they could hear boots walking through the empty hangar, steady and sure, like a ghost still standing guard. 3 days had passed since the old janitor vanished from Fort Darlington. General Reed couldn't focus on anything else. His mind kept replaying that moment, the mop, the eyes, the calm voice that said Viper 1. It wasn't just nostalgia or curiosity anymore. It was something deeper. A sense that unfinished business had walked right into his command, only to disappear again. He ordered the intelligence unit to dig through every possible record on Captain Nathan Cole, but all files were sealed under classified clearance level Omega, which even Reed, the general, couldn't access without Pentagon authorization. That alone told him something was wrong. Late one night, as rain hammered against his office window, a notification blinked on his encrypted screen. A file had been unlocked. No sender, no trace. Just a title. Operation Silent Storm. Aftermath Debrief. Reed hesitated, then clicked. The screen filled with old footage. Black and white. Grainy. Men in tactical gear moving through a jungle at night. Gunfire, explosions, and there, leading the charge, a young Nathan Cole. The last segment showed something that had never been part of the official records. Cole's team was ambushed deep inside enemy territory. Extraction failed. One by one, his men fell. Cole stayed behind to cover the retreat of the only two survivors. But what the government never reported was that he was captured alive. The footage cut to a dim interrogation room. Cole sat tied to a chair, his face bloodied but his eyes still fierce. A voice of foreign, rough, asked questions about U.S. operations. Cole didn't answer a single one. Instead, he said, "You can kill me, but you'll never break me. I'm Viper 1. The tape ended there. Reed's pulse quickened. The timestamp on the footage was dated 3 months after the mission had been declared over. That meant Cole had survived, and not only to be erased from history. Why? Before Reed could dig further, his office phone rang. "General," said the voice of Sergeant Blake from security, "you'll want to come to the north gate. We found something." Reed grabbed his coat and hurried into the storm. At the gate, 2 MPs stood beside a vehicle, an old rusted pickup. The windshield was cracked and the back seat was covered with mud. On the dashboard sat an envelope. Reed picked it up. Inside was a flash drive and a small photograph, a younger Cole standing with a group of soldiers, including Reed himself as a fresh-faced lieutenant. On the back of the photo were the words, "If you're reading this, they found me again. Keep them away from the base." Reed's heart pounded. Found him again? Who was they? He rushed back to his office and plugged in the flash drive. It contained one video file, time-stamped just 2 days ago. The video opened with static, then focused on Cole sitting in what looked like an abandoned cabin. His gray janitor uniform was gone. He wore old tactical gear, patched and worn. Behind him hung a faded flag, the same one from his old unit. "Marcus," Cole said, his tone calm but urgent. "If you're watching this, it means I had to disappear. Again." He paused, taking a slow breath. "You were right. Operation Silent Storm didn't end. It was never supposed to. They turned it into something darker. A ghost program. Black Ops off the record. The kind of mission where men like me don't retire. We just vanish." Reed leaned closer to the screen. Cole continued. "After they declared us dead, they started using our identities. Missions done under Team Viper names. Assassinations. Coups. All under the banner of the dead. I tried to stop them. They buried me instead." Thunder rumbled outside as Cole's voice grew softer. "I became a janitor because it was the only way to stay invisible. I watched, listened, tried to make sure no one from that ghost program came near Fort Darlington. But they're back, Marcus. They're planning something right under your nose." The video ended with coordinates flashing on the screen. Latitude and longitude, deep inside the mountains, 60 miles north of the base. Reed didn't hesitate. Within hours, he had assembled a small covert team. No official record, no backup. Just 6 men who trusted him without question. They moved through the rain-soaked terrain, the helicopter skimming over dense forest. As they neared the coordinates, Reed could see faint lights below, a hidden facility carved into the mountain. The pilot spoke over the comms. "Sir, you seeing this? There's no record of any structure here." Reed clenched his jaw. "That's because we weren't supposed to." The team landed half a mile out and proceeded on foot. They found an underground entrance camouflaged beneath an old mining site. Inside, they discovered something that froze them in their tracks. Rows of files. Computers and dossiers labeled Viper Project. Every file listed names of soldiers marked KIA, killed in action, but each had recent activity logs. The program was still operational. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A voice echoed through the tunnel speakers. "Welcome back, General. I see you found the truth." It was a voice Reed didn't recognize, and cold, mechanical. The team took defensive positions. Then from the shadows a figure stepped out. A man in tactical armor, face hidden behind a mask. Reed raised his weapon. "Who are you?" The masked man chuckled. "You could say I'm the new generation of Vipers." Before Reed could react, the masked man opened fire. The tunnel erupted into chaos, bullets sparking off metal walls, smoke filling the air. Reed's team returned fire, taking down 2 hostiles who appeared from side corridors. As Reed ducked behind cover, a grenade rolled toward him, but a boot kicked it away just in time. When he looked up, his heart nearly stopped. It was Cole. He was dressed in full tactical gear, rifle in hand, eyes blazing. "Still freezing under fire, Marcus?" he said, smirking slightly. Reed exhaled in disbelief. "You're alive." "Told you some ghosts don't stay buried," Cole said. They fought side by side, clearing the tunnels room by room. Cole moved like a predator, silent, precise, lethal. Every shot was deliberate. When they reached the command center, they found a wall of monitors displaying live satellite feeds, military bases, and data streams. A single file was open on the central screen. Fort Darlington, neutralization order. Reed's blood ran cold. "They're targeting the base," Cole nodded grimly. "That's why I came back." A sudden voice came from behind them, the masked man again. "You were supposed to stay dead, Cole." Cole turned slowly. "So were you, Mason." The name hit Reed like a punch. Mason Hunt, Cole's second-in-command from Operation Silent Storm. Reported killed in action. Hunt laughed, removing his mask. His face was scarred, eyes burning with bitterness. "We were left behind, Cole. You think I didn't remember that? They built this new Viper program on our ashes. At least I took control of it." "You turned it into a monster," Cole said quietly. "I turned it into survival." Hunt roared. "The world moved on. We didn't. I made sure they'd never forget who the real soldiers were." Cole stepped forward. "By killing innocents? By turning your men into assassins? You call it murder," Hunt sneered. "I call it justice." The air between them felt like a live wire ready to snap. Then Hunt raised his weapon. But Cole was faster. One precise shot echoed through the chamber. Hunt staggered back, clutching his chest, collapsing beside the control panel. As alarms blared, Reed shouted, "Cole! The base! The system's armed!" Cole ran to the terminal, typing commands. He set a detonation link to Darlington's fuel depot. "If I can't stop it," the screen flashed red. "Link active, 3 minutes. Get your men out," Cole ordered. "I'm not leaving you," Reed said. Cole turned, eyes steady. "Marcus, you owe me one last favor. Keep my story quiet this time." Before Reed could respond, Cole shoved him toward the exit as a secondary explosion rocked the tunnel. The lights went out. Reed's team dragged him out through the smoke just as the mountain erupted in a thunderous blast. The shockwave tore through the forest, flames lighting the night sky. When it was over, all that remained was rubble. No sign of Cole. Back at the base, emergency teams confirmed that the threat to Fort Darlington had been neutralized. Reed filed an incomplete report, omitting Cole's name entirely. A week later, Reed visited the base memorial. Rain drizzled over the engraved names of fallen soldiers. He placed a single patch on the marble, the coiled snake of Viper 1. "Rest easy, old friend," he whispered. "You saved us again." But as he turned to leave, something caught his eye. A janitor's cart parked at the edge of the courtyard. On it sat a folded cloth and a note. The note read, "Didn't think I'd go out that easy, did you? Keep the base clean, General. V1. Reed looked up sharply, but the courtyard was empty. Only the wind moved, carrying the faint echo of boots walking away. He smiled. For the first time in years, he felt peace. Back inside his office, he pinned the Viper patch above his desk. Every new soldier who came to Darlington asked about it, and Reed always gave the same answer. "Just a reminder," he'd say, "that heroes don't always wear medals. Some carry mops, some carry ghosts." Months later, an anonymous envelope arrived at the Pentagon's Security Division. Inside was a flash drive containing files that exposed the entire Viper project. The operation was shut down quietly, the records buried. But every now and then, across conflict zones around the world, soldiers reported being saved by a mysterious figure. Older, silent, efficient. They called him the Ghost Viper. And though no one ever confirmed his existence, General Reed knew the truth. Viper 1 never died. He just went back to the shadows and where legends belong. As the years passed, Fort Darlington's walls grew older, its stories deeper, but if you ever walked its halls late at night, you might still hear the faint squeak of a mop, the echo of boots, and a whisper carried through the wind.